Every single challenge you have faced this year, hell, maybe even this week, has a lesson in it. The question is, have you uncovered it yet? Sometimes life feels like it is throwing us into chaos without rhyme or reason. But what if I told you that with every single struggle lies a sacred lesson waiting to be discovered? Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another Mindful Monday. I'm your host, that's right, your girl, Arika Trimnell, also known as the Mindful Mistress. We are here to explore how to turn hardships into profound wisdom. This is not just a philosophy, but it's really a practice rooted in ancient traditions and, of course, backed by modern science. I am here to share unique insights and perspective that help us grow both professionally, most importantly, spiritually, and evolve, helping us to break the prism of limiting beliefs. So let's dive in it today, talking about how we can turn our challenges from this year, maybe last week, last month, into our greatest assets for 2025. So challenges are teachers. Maybe you don't believe it, but hopefully after listening to me today, maybe I've reframed something for you. If not, it's okay. It might soak in at a later time, or maybe this message is just not meant for you. But honestly, though, throughout history, challenges have been seen as sacred opportunities for growth. Ancient wisdom even tells us that time and time again, that challenges present opportunities if we are willing to see them. One of the religions I think about is in Buddhism. The idea of suffering or dukkha is really viewed as an inevitable part of life, but also a gateway to awakening. How many times have you been through the dark night of the soul? We all know how painful, how treacherous, how you just feel like you are depressed and you're not going to be able to get out of this. But what it is that rebirth, is that transition. It's like as you are forming into this beautiful butterfly in the next phase of life, or the next color that you're going to experience on the spectrum, there is that pressure, like, right? Diamonds need pressure to be diamonds, right? So again, you might feel or classify things as suffering. It's to develop you into another phase, another level, another vibration, if you will. So it's through suffering that we actually can develop compassion and self-awareness. In Stoicism, it's something that is something that was created in ancient in ancient I can't say it, in ancient Roman times. There we go. In ancient Roman times, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius taught that obstacles are really not the enemy, but actually that's the way forward. I think about, I don't know why, but if you were, gosh, maybe I learned this in Girl Scouts or somewhere, but we're going on a bear hunt. We're going on a bear hunt. We're gonna catch a bear. Every time in that song you had an obstacle, it was like, oh, you can't go over it. You can't go under it. You gotta go through it, right? So again, even little childhood songs like that teach us that when we face obstacles, it's not meant for us to circumnavigate that obstacle or that challenge, but to really lean into that discomfort. Those of you who have been watching my channel, at least for this year, you know that I've got 3 mantras that I've been going through this year that have been my guiding light and my intention. And one of them is to get more uncomfortable. And boy, has that happened. So be careful what you ask for in 2025. But so to say that is just the impediment to action is really what advances our action. So it reminds us that the challenge is what actually sharpens our character. Steel sharpens steel, right? Modern science also echoes this ancient wisdom, and stands behind the video that I'm creating today, as far as having challenges be your greatest weapon for 2025 and beyond. You're really helping your future self when you're able to really get at the nugget of what is in the challenge. But so back to the modern science and how it basically says, yes, Erica, you're right. Sorry, I'm an Aries. What can you expect? But anywho, psychologists really refer to this phenomenon as post traumatic growth. So we've talked about this on the channel before because I am trauma informed. I love to bring trauma awareness because so much of what happens to us in present day is really a reflection of what we've went through back in our past, in our childhood, things that we didn't get that we needed. We are now searching for in our adult lives. Some of us are stuck in those states. And so we talked about post-traumatic stress and how that can impact us. But what about post-traumatic growth? That's the idea that after adversity, people develop a greater sense of self, of resilience, and purpose in life, along with things like gratitude. So I know, sorry guys, this might not be the example you want to hear, but think about, I can tell you so many women who, after a terrible breakup, terrible divorce, terrible relationship, it's like there's this glow up that happens. It happens for men too, but I see it a lot of times happen with women. There's this huge glow up, and what that is really post-traumatic growth syndrome at its finest, ladies. So when you're deciding, you're dusting off that one and that's not the one for you, and then you're like, oh, we got a new body, we got a new car, we got more coins, we've got a different friend circle, like everything has changed. That's that post-traumatic growth. So think of this as like maybe again, like forging steel. You need that heat, you need that pressure. Those are the things that are necessary that are going to create the strength that you need in that steel. So the same is true for your soul as well. You need the heat and you need the pressure. That makes me think, I have a client, and gosh, my client Devin came to me after a painful breakup. So again, I've seen it happen with men and I've seen it happen with women, but Devin came to me after a painful breakup. He was really stuck in this loop of why me, why me, why me? And together we were able to explore what this experience of that painful breakup really had in store for him, that it wasn't just about the heartbreak, but at the core of this relationship and this breakup was really the opportunity to build healthier boundaries and align with his authentic self. So typically, most of us don't go to, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm no longer into that, relationship. There is the grief that a lot of us sit in, and there's nothing wrong with that. And grief is healthy. It's a healthy emotion, and it's you need to feel whatever emotion is coming up, right? So if grief is where you're sitting, that's okay. But on the other side of that can be the nuggets that you find, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I went through that relationship, because now in the next phase of my life, or the next relationship that I'm going to go through, I'm going to have strong boundaries. I am not going to allow people access to me that do not meet my minimum requirements, or in all of those things. So again, just another example using Devin, who was, I won't go into, like, I don't want to divulge too much detail, but we've all been there, right? We've all had a heartbreak that just crushed us. And again, by going through that, by leaning into that grief, by leaning into that pain, you're able to start seeing the nuggets from the relationship. You're able to enjoy it. You're be able to honor what it has taught you and the person who you were in that relationship. To that point, it also makes me think about, I saw on social media, I think I was scrolling like maybe a day or two ago, and it says that we're not really mourning the person, we're mourning who we were in that relationship. And we just tie those feelings about, oh my gosh, it was this person that made me, I don't know, whether you were maybe shy before and you started dating this person, you start being more outgoing, you start being more social, you started having a bigger social capital because you were networking more. You've tied that to this individual. And so what you're actually mourning is who you were in that relationship, not actually the person. And I thought that that was a really good point that was made in that social media video, because so many times we attach what it is we are going through personally to things that are on the outside of the external. But that, if anything, should show us we have the capacity to be beautiful social butterflies if that's what we want to be. We have the capacity to have a strong network if that's what we want in life. It's these beautiful experiences that allow us to open up in certain ways that maybe we didn't have the opportunity before. But again, it's about turning that challenge, turning that struggle into a strength, turning this into the teacher that it was meant to be if you're willing to listen. So, you know me, I love to give tips. I love to help us both, because maybe you're like, oh my gosh, maybe this is exactly what I needed to hear, but how do I do this? How can I start to extract wisdom from very challenging situations? Holidays are among us. This could be a really good tool to utilize during the holiday process. So to break this process down, transforming struggles into wisdom really requires intentionality. And here are just a few ways or some steps or some ideas that I'm going to toss out that I want you to take and make your own. And what doesn't stick, it's fine. It doesn't stick. It doesn't work for you. But one of the ways you can do it is by reflecting through compassion. And so when I say that, it is that self-reflection that you have of yourself it's the cornerstone of making any kind of change. We hear this in modern psychology. We hear this in ancient practice where you're talking to an abuelo. Will let you know that awareness is key to any kind of change, to any kind of learning. So learning from your challenges takes you wanting to dig deeper and find that awareness and create space to process that experience. So many times, I cannot tell you, y'all, I have worked with clients who actively avoid creating space for a situation. They just want to run past the grief and act like it doesn't happen and compartmentalize. I feel when I was doing that, it made me feel like, sometimes, back in the day when you'd go to New York in a certain area, in a certain corner, you'd have people like, hey, you want some watches? I got what you need, that Gucci, that Benita Prada. So sorry, I digress. But anywho, you've got to have hold space for that awareness, just like we hold space for the things in our house. They have certain spaces have an energy that calls for something. It's again creating that space, creating the level of compassion, creating that safety within that allows that certain experience to sit with you, non-judgmental, but from a place where I'm ready to learn the lesson that this has for me. In Ayurvedic concepts of mana, it really emphasizes this aspect of self-inquiry, understanding emotional imbalances and understanding our emotions as a whole. Neuroscience to that same effect shows that journaling can reduce you feeling overwhelmed and provide clarity. So maybe utilizing this in your practice or your attempt to hold space and create that compassion awareness, maybe you journal, maybe you voice note, maybe you do something creative. I love doing creative outlets. I love painting, drawing. That really helps me process my emotions and provide the clarity that I'm looking for. So if you're thinking about maybe you want to journal and you're not quite sure where you want to start and you're thinking about a challenge in your life, maybe asking yourself a question like, what was the hardest moment I faced this year? and setting some time to really think about it. What emotions surface and what did they actually reveal about my true needs? Now, this is a game changer when you're really able to sit down and dissect a situation and how it made you feel. And when you're able to get to the actual root emotions, I recommend using a feelings wheel because it really helps you get to those root emotions. That tells you what's really going on underneath the surface and how you can create space, create boundaries, or find ways to process what maybe you didn't have the clarity to process before. And something else you can ask is, how did I respond? And how does that tell me about my strengths or areas of opportunity for growth? Reflection really isn't about the judgment at all. It's really about compassion. It's about curiosity, getting curious about how you react and what's the root cause of that reaction or the root cause of that emotion, because it's from the core beliefs. It's from the root where you're actually able to make sustainable changes. Of course, you can look at the fluff and say, yeah, I don't like this, so I'm going to change this. But if you're looking for lifelong sustained change, it's about uncovering the root. And that might take you to examining your parents. It might take you examining the place and space that you grew up, because oftentimes, more than not, that is how we formulated our response, our emotional response, our physical response. So again, holding space for that, and again, not coming at it from a place of judgment, but true compassion, like if it was your best friend that you were helping to dissect these sometimes very complicated emotions to find the lesson within. Another really good thing that you can do is reframing narratives. Now, I know because most of us are wired for the negative reframe. Sometimes just taking the negative and making it neutral is a good place to start instead of going from a negative to positive. You know me, I'm a big believer of affirmations, but I also understand that that could be a far stretch for somebody. So maybe just taking something that's negative and reframing it to neutral, and then building that muscle to reframe the neutral into negative. So borrowing a tool from ancient philosophy and cognitive philosophy of reframing, Buddhists use the concept of impermanence, which what that does is it teaches us that no hardship lasts forever. This mindset really helps to encourage us to see life's challenges as temporary, as waves as they ebb and flow, carrying these very valuable lessons. Again, if we're willing to tap in, if we're willing to lean in and actually see that. It makes me think, for those of you who have my children's book, when I talk about the root chakra, one of the things that I bring up is in the book, I can see it in my head, is that I help you float on the peaks and the valleys of life's ocean waves. So no matter if you're at a high period of your life or a low period of your life, or you're even on the ascending or descending, your root chakra is one of the energy forces that helps sustain you no matter what. It's your ability to ground in the knowing of who you are. So modern psychology also supports this with the term cognitive reframing, which is the practice of shifting from negative thoughts to thoughts that are empowering, that, again, it could be affirmations. So a way that, or an example that you can utilize this is, instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Maybe you can ask, what is this teaching me? What am I meant to learn from this lesson? Did financial stress teach you maybe to be more resourceful, or maybe the importance of financial boundaries? Did a failure maybe show you that you were possibly out of alignment with your values? So reframing doesn't erase the pain, but what it does is it really helps transform transform it. If we think about, I'm all about vibration therapy and double entendres and a whole bunch of other things. But I think of, again, like the prism. It's really just taking that shift, right? Just a little degree or two shift. Then you get the light that comes in that refracts this beautiful spectrum for you to be able to see. But it's not until you make the necessary shift needed that transforms, again, like how we're talking about, transforms the light into a beautiful spectrum. So transforms the pain into a tool for growth. So you are the prism able to transform that. If we think of Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor and psychologist, he said that when you are no longer able to change a situation, when we are challenged, we then have to change ourselves. So the last and final tip is really honoring the growth, anchoring in the wisdom that you gain by celebrating the growth that you have so far. I can't tell you how many times this self is so grateful for the past self who was cognitive of what I might go through later in life and wanted to prepare, whether that's doing the shadow work, the healing, whether that is having those difficult conversations. So honoring the growth when we think about pulling in Hinduism, there are rituals of gratitude. It could be as simple as lighting a candle or offering flowers or acknowledgement of the journey, honoring your resilience today. This plays a huge part of our brain's ability, that neuroplasticity. And so gratitude helps with the neuroplasticity because you are able to create new neural pathways that are associated to the positive self-image that are help shape and reframe your RAS, your reticulating activating system that we talked about, I think, a few videos ago, to more of a positive frame versus the negative frame that most of us have. No fault of our own. That's just the way our brains are wired. So just take a moment to yourself and ask, what strengths have I uncovered this year? You don't have to answer it now, maybe later, maybe you pause, you write it down. How have I grown emotionally, mentally, or spiritually? Write yourself a note of gratitude, light a candle, or simply say aloud or to yourself, I honor the lessons and the growth that this year has brought me. By using these steps, making your own, the reflection, reframing, and honoring, it really can help you transform any struggle into a stepping stone for a place, a trajectory of strength, of growth, which is what we are all seeking together. So by embracing the wisdom of your struggles, we can create a new path for ourselves going forward. We can set up ourselves for 2025 to have success like we've never seen it before. So, as we close, let me leave with you this. Your challenges are sacred. They are not setbacks, but they are teachers setting you up for success, showing you what you are truly made for and made to do. Life's obstacles do not define you. How you grow through them is what truly does. Take this time this week to reflect, to reframe, and to honor the lessons of this year, of this week, of this month. Honor the gifts that they have provided with you. You are stronger than you are yesterday. You are braver and you are wiser. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, beautiful souls, on this beautiful Monday. If this message resonated with you, please, of course, you gotta like, you gotta share, you gotta subscribe. It is a free way to support me, support your growth. We are growing a community of light here, and it takes all of us. It takes a community to grow. We know that we are not limited by our limiting beliefs, but actually those are lights that show us areas of growth because we are change makers, we are generational healers, we are trauma breakers. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week. Bye.